U.S. layoffs in 2026 are heavily concentrated in the technology sector, with over 173,62 tech employees laid off by early May, driven by AI restructuring, even as general unemployment claims remain low. Major companies like Meta, Amazon, and Oracle are reducing staff while simultaneously hiring in AI-related roles, signaling a shift in labor needs rather than a total hiring freeze. Many layoffs are linked to restructuring toward artificial intelligence, requiring different skill sets rather than shrinking the workforce entirely. Tech layoffs have continued in 2026 with 173,62 employees cut across 98 companies. So, in this video, we will look at the effects of layoffs in the U.S. economy and on the people of the United States. Why are layoffs increasing in the United States? Layoffs in the United States are increasing due to a combination of structural, economic, and technological factors rather than a single cause. The most important drivers include post-pandemic overhiring, high interest rates, slowing economic growth, corporate restructuring, and technological shifts such as artificial intelligence. During the COVID-19 recovery period, many companies, especially in technology, hired aggressively in anticipation of long-term digital growth. However, as economic conditions normalized and growth slowed, firms found themselves overstaffed. Recent data suggest that although the U.S. economy continues to grow modestly, hiring momentum has weakened. Employment growth has slowed, and job openings have declined, indicating a cooling labor market even when unemployment remains relatively stable. This mismatch, where companies are cautious about hiring but willing to cut costs, creates the conditions for layoffs. At the same time, macroeconomic pressures such as inflation and higher borrowing costs have forced companies to prioritize profitability over expansion. Many firms are now focusing on efficiency, which often translates into workforce reductions. Is artificial intelligence, AI, driving layoffs in the U.S.? Artificial intelligence is a contributing factor but not the primary driver of layoffs. The narrative that AI is replacing jobs is often overstated. In reality, most layoffs are the result of cost-cutting, restructuring, and post-pandemic corrections rather than direct job replacement by AI. For instance, major technology companies have explicitly stated that AI is not the main cause of layoffs. Mark Zuckerberg noted that layoffs at Meta were linked to financial trade-offs rather than AI replacing workers. Similarly, reporting shows that many firms are using AI as a justification for layoffs even when the real reasons are economic. Analysts describe this trend as AI washing, where companies attribute job cuts to AI to align with investor expectations. However, AI does play an indirect role. Companies are investing heavily in AI infrastructure, hundreds of billions of dollars, which forces them to cut costs elsewhere, including labor. Sam Altman, CEO of ChatGPT owner OpenAI, said, "Almost every company that does layoffs is blaming AI, whether or not it really is about AI." Will AI increase layoffs further in the coming years? The future impact of AI on employment remains highly debated. Some experts warn of significant disruption, while others believe the effects will be more gradual and balanced. Jeffrey Hinton, a leading AI pioneer, has warned that, this time it is different. He suggests that AI could fundamentally change labor markets in ways not seen in previous technological revolutions. On the other hand, other experts argue that AI will create new jobs even as it eliminates some roles. Yann LeCun has cautioned against alarmism, emphasizing that economists, not technologists, should guide assessments of labor market impacts. Most economic forecasts suggest that AI will restructure jobs rather than simply eliminate them. Entry-level and routine roles are most at risk, while demand for skilled workers in AI, data science, and advanced manufacturing is expected to grow. Which companies are laying off the most workers in the U.S.? Layoffs are widespread across industries, but the largest cuts have occurred in technology, finance, retail, and logistics. Major companies involved include Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Oracle, Dell, Citibank, UPS, etc. UPS alone has announced plans to reduce its workforce by 30,000 jobs, making it one of the largest layoffs in recent years. Meta has also announced significant cuts, including 10% of its workforce, while continuing to invest heavily in AI and infrastructure. These layoffs are not limited to tech. Companies across sectors, including retail, Nike, media, and consumer goods, are reducing staff to adapt to changing demand and cost pressures. What economic sectors are most affected by layoffs? The sectors most affected include technology, finance, logistics and retail, government, and the public sector. The technology sector has seen the largest layoffs due to overhiring during the pandemic and the shift toward AI-driven efficiency. Tech layoffs alone have affected hundreds of thousands of workers since 2020. Banks such as Citibank are cutting jobs as they restructure operations and respond to changing financial conditions. Companies like UPS and Nike are adjusting to shifts in consumer demand and e-commerce trends. Even federal agencies have experienced layoffs, leading to concerns about loss of expertise and institutional knowledge. How do increasing layoffs affect people's lives in the United States? Layoffs have profound economic, social, and psychological effects on individuals and communities. At the most immediate level, job loss leads to income insecurity, making it difficult for households to meet basic needs such as housing, healthcare, and education. Beyond financial stress, layoffs also have psychological consequences. Workers often experience anxiety, loss of identity, and reduced confidence. In sectors like technology, where layoffs have been highly visible, morale has declined significantly. Reports indicate that layoffs have had a negative impact on employee morale, reflecting widespread uncertainty. Layoffs also contribute to broader economic inequality. High-skilled workers may find new opportunities relatively quickly, while others, especially those in routine or entry-level roles, face longer periods of unemployment. Communities can also be affected. Large-scale layoffs in a particular region can reduce local spending, weaken small businesses, and strain public services. Are layoffs a sign of economic decline in the United States? Layoffs do not necessarily indicate a collapsing economy. In fact, recent data show that the U.S. economy continues to grow, although at a slower pace. However, layoffs reflect a transition phase rather than a downturn. The labor market remains relatively strong, with unemployment still low by historical standards. However, the combination of slower hiring, fewer job openings, and increased layoffs suggests that the labor market is becoming less dynamic. This situation is often described as a rebalancing of the economy, where companies adjust to new economic realities after a period of rapid expansion. What is the long-term outlook for layoffs in the U.S.? The long-term outlook suggests that layoffs will continue in certain sectors, particularly those undergoing technological transformation. However, this does not necessarily mean a permanent reduction in employment. Instead, the U.S. labor market is likely to experience structural change, where some jobs disappear while new ones emerge. The challenge will be ensuring that workers can transition into new roles, which requires investment in education, training, and workforce development. The rise in layoffs in the United States is the result of a complex interplay of economic adjustment, corporate strategy, and technological change. While artificial intelligence is an important factor, it is not the primary cause. Instead, layoffs are largely driven by cost-cutting, restructuring, and the correction of overhiring during the pandemic. Experts emphasize that these layoffs reflect transformation rather than collapse. The labor market is evolving, with companies reallocating resources toward new technologies and business models. However, this transition comes with significant challenges, particularly for workers whose skills are no longer aligned with market demands. In the coming years, the key issue will not be whether layoffs occur, but how effectively economies and societies adapt to these changes. Thank you for tuning in, and I encourage you to subscribe to our channel for fresh content on crucial global matters. Additionally, please like the video and share your insights on the topic in the comments section below. Have a wonderful day.